Come on in. Happy Friday, Sip and Chill family. Welcome to the Valentine's Weekend Day edition of Sip and Chill. Happy you are here. Please be sure to say hello when you get here. We'll get started pretty soon, but I want to get some folks in before we get going. So to those of you who are here live, welcome. To those of you who will see this on replay, excited you chose to check us out and hang out with us for a bit. Hey, Terry, how you doing? Again, as you come in, please say hello. Just want to make sure we don't have any difficulties this time because I could see you last time, but then somehow along the way, I was unable to see a comment. So do this for me. If you could just shoot some, there she is. Hey, Keish, how you doing? I see that. So thumbs and hearts. Just to let me know we have connection and you can hear me, you can see me. Hey, Kathy, how you doing? Welcome back to the lounge. Hey, Terry, happy Friday. Happy Valentine's Day weekend to all of you who are celebrating, either by yourself or with your special boo. Excited that you chose to hang out with us for a little bit. So welcome. Thank you for the hearts. We have connectivity. So how we doing? How was the week? Man, it's good to be with you guys. I'm kind of excited for some reason. Oh, this is Sip and Chill. Let me tell you. What's happening, Bird? How you doing, brother? Hey, Gwen, how you doing? Good to see you all back. Yes, we have a beverage. And I hope that you have one too, even if it's non-alcoholic. Just as long as you are enjoying the time we have in the lounge. Man, it's a lot to get to. So I'm kind of excited. So I think I probably should start with, because we have new people. And some people are familiar with me, some not so much. So I probably should start there before I get into what we're going to get into. So who am I? It is your guy, Coach Reg, okay? Relationship coach, founder of Are You Coached, a relationship coaching platform geared toward helping individuals identify, participate, strengthen, and sustain healthy relationships. My clients are high-achieving professional men and women who have attained many of their professional goals, but may not yet have the interpersonal relationship that best complements him or her. And we coach around those things to help them get the best results and the best outcomes. Coach from a coaching model that I can't speak much about right now because we're in trademark process, but can't wait to talk to you more about that. And that's who we work with. And so, been a part of some media opportunities, featured in some globally syndicated, globally, like around the world, syndicated podcasts. You can totally check that stuff out on our website at areyoucoached.com. I am also the founder of Sip and Chill with Coach Reg, which is where you are hanging out with me now. And I'm excited to have you here. And what is Sip and Chill? Sip and Chill is a virtual lounge where members learn to start, strengthen, and sustain relationships. You guys share topics with me or things you like to talk about. I develop content around it, or sometimes it's just ideas I have that I think will help and serve the group, because that is the intent. Okay. So we got that out of the way. Now, next thing. I've been invited to participate in a conference. 2021 is called Call to Inspire. It's a virtual relationship conference next Tuesday. That information is in the group. So if you're able to participate actually, and view the live stream, if you'd like to do that, the details and the information around that is in the group. So I hope that you'll be able to take advantage of it if you can. If not, I believe it'll be available on replay. So excited about that. That opportunity just happened fortuitously, and I'm grateful. So should be a good time. Now, let's see. I feel like it's something else. One last thing. There's a sale. Okay. Many of you have asked about the sale. Like, when is there going to be another sale? Because there was one in December, and why not have another sale in the love month, since it's your guy, Coach Reg, who happens to be a relationship coach, and I love love, right? So it makes sense to have a sale this month. And so if you choose to take advantage of it, that information is in the post as well. Man, I had a lot of administrivia tonight. Okay, we are back. We're ready to go. So everybody doing good? Everybody got their beverages? Doing okay? Again, for those of you who are just joining us, please say hello when you get here. Excited that you are here. That you chose to take some time to hang out with us for a bit. We're going to talk about some things that we covered in the group this week, right? So the topic is conflict resolution. Is it your superpower or is it kryptonite? Yeah. So what I like to do is kind of touch on some of the comments from the group this week before we get into the content, because I think that I like to kind of share what folks are. And of course, you can totally see the comments yourself in the group and read them in their entirety if that's what you choose. But I just chose to picked out a few that I wanted to share. Hey Joyce, how you doing? Hey Nick, how you doing? How you doing? Welcome to you all. Welcome back to the lounge. Happy you were hanging out. So yeah, let's get down to it. So one of the questions posed this week was, does conflict have to be handled or managed? And how do you determine which approach to take? Sable says, handled sounds a little more aggressive. I will go with managed. It gives a more collaborative feel. We're both working on the issue. Both of us are doing what we can to reach resolution, keeping our cool, good word choice, intentional on a positive resolution. Yeah. So I have an example I'm going to use when we get into the meat of it. But yeah, that's a really good response. Next question. I love that you guys are thoughtful too. I want to tell you, I appreciate that tremendously. Some smart folks in this group. Yeah, smart folks. How does designing your relationship support conflict resolution? So Angela says, she would ask this question, what can we do differently to avoid this issue in the future? You must look for the solution if the person is worth it. Carol says she agrees. It sets intentions about the relationship in general regarding conflict resolution. It sets boundaries internally and externally about how far you will go just to be right or make the other person wrong. Sherry says it's a pre-dispute arbitration clause. And then someone asked, like, what does that mean, right? What does designing your relationship, what does designing your relationship mean? Well, you guys have heard me talk about this. Many of you have, I'm sorry. So let me step back. Designing a relationship simply means that you take the time to set the ground rules, if you will, with your person. And the idea is it's a negotiation, quite frankly, because you share what you feel and how you feel about whatever that thing may be that you want to design into the relationship. They share what they would like to design into the relationship. And the idea is to get to agreement. Now, prior to agreement, you may have to negotiate, right? Because I've used the example before that some folks may say, well, I want flowers every day of the month, for example, right? And person says, wow, that's a big ask, right? I'm not accustomed to that. So what about 5 times a month, right? And person says, I don't know. So say they agree on 15, okay? So the agreement is 15. So 15 days out of the month, this person says, they're expecting to receive flowers. So you agree. Now, let's say you go through a month and you only get flowers 10 days or 12 days, right? You don't get the 15 that you agreed to. Well, that's what design gives you. It gives you accountability and it gives you agreement. Again, you may have to negotiate to get to it, but the idea is to get to accountability and agreement so that when the agreement isn't honored or being honored, you can hold your person accountable given what you agreed to. So that's how design can support your relationship in conflict resolution. Does that make sense? Just give me some thumbs. I think it does. I just want to make sure we're tracking. And while you give me the thumbs, hey, Kat, what's up, bro? How you doing, man? I'm going to have a sip. My gosh, tasty. How we doing? I can't see the thumbs up, so I'm just going to rock with it. All right, so next question. Thank you for that. So the next question, what is one thing you do to change how you've historically approached conflict resolution? Tioe said, internalizing or suppressing things that have a significant impact on me for the sake of keeping the peace. Now, I considerately express what I'm feeling. I try to understand the other person's point of view without negating my own. My approach is a work in progress, but conflict feels more like understanding each other. I dig that, Toy. I dig it. And the reason is because it is a collaborative approach, right? It's consideration. It's not me focused, right? It's an awareness of herself and her person. Gwen, she wrote, when I was younger, I would approach conflict head on and address it with fresh memories and raw emotions. While that produced a more accurate portrayal of my feelings, it didn't always go over well. As I got older, I began to sit back and try to look at the conflict more objectively, to choose my approach and gauge the best possible outcome. Unfortunately, that often led to my feeling the situation wasn't that serious and letting it go, just to move on, an avoidance of conflict. You got it, Gwen. Also, not good, because when I let it go, it's not resolved and usually will come back around. So at this point, based on trial and error and tried and true, I'm trying to evolve into a happy medium. I dig it, Gwen. I dig it. Listen, I love the awareness. I do. So yeah, these are some of the responses we got today. We had this week. And so again, I appreciate your contribution. I appreciate your engagement. I appreciate your thoughts. And so let's talk about it, right? So let me ask you before we get into it. There was one other question that I'd asked about where you feel you are with, if you had to grade yourself on conflict resolution, where would you rate, right? So my question is, and just feel free to chime in. I can see your thumbs. I can see your responses, which is awesome. So how do you feel about conflict resolution? Is it your superpower or is it kryptonite? Do you feel you're strong or is it a weakness that you'd like to improve? No right or wrong answers, obviously. We're just interacting, right? To understand where we are. Because I know that the things we talk about tonight will be helpful. I think it may be a situation where many of you, it may be some new information. It may be some things you're already doing. Not really sure. But the idea is to share, to offer something that will add value to your life and your love and your relationships. Okay? Oh, man. So everybody's going to be shot. No one wants to tell me where you are, strong or weak or kryptonite or superpower. Okay, that's cool. We'll rock with it. So let's get this out of the way. No one likes conflict, right? So since it's a part of life and relationships, how do we forge our way through? It begins by understanding what emotions come up for you and why when conflict is present. Notice what we're talking about here. We're talking about you, the individual, not your person, not how they're responding, not, oh, they're not doing this. We're talking about you. We're talking about the self-awareness that an individual has. What are you feeling and why, right? When conflict shows up, what is going on? Because listen, I have had situations in my life, particularly when I was married many years ago, that when things got tense, not while we were married, we're talking about doing a divorce. Obviously, things aren't great during a divorce, right? So, but the emotions and the feelings, it was a lot to deal with. That's why healing has to occur, right? Because it's not enough to sweep things under the rug and just pretend they didn't exist or it'll magically go away. And, we're going to talk more about that. But the idea is just being aware, right? There's a self-awareness that's necessary for you in whatsoever the relationship. It doesn't have to just be romantic. It can be whatever that relationship may be, okay? How have past experiences jaded your perception of conflict or how you view conflict? Has conflict sharpened or dulled your abilities to successfully resolve relationship conflicts? In other words, do you just give up? Be like, it's not worth it, right? So why bother? I hope that's not your story. But the reality is, some persons, it could be, right? Next, do I readily know what situations in my relationships need to be handled and which need to be managed? Kind of like the question we talked about, right? We talked about, Sable mentioned a collaborative approach, right? A considerate approach. The example I sometimes use, right, is if hold 1 second, Bert, it's a weakness. 9 times out of 10, I'm either walking away, no longer fully invested in a relationship, or if I'm really into her, compromising in a way that leaves me with the crappy end. Dagbert, listen, I understand, right? I promise I do. And it's a courageous act, right? It takes courage to address conflict constructively. That doesn't just happen, because here's the thing, that awareness that I mentioned a moment ago, not only do you have to be aware, you have to kind of bring those emotions kind of under captivity, right? And say, wait a minute, I'm not going to respond this way, even though you want to. And then in the interest of wanting to get through it, you may appease and give in to some things and sign up for some things that you, like you said, leaves you feeling less than. That's no good. So I appreciate the honesty, but you're absolutely right, my man. It takes courage. It takes courage. And so although you identify it as a weakness, I would say it's something to build on, right? Because you absolutely can grow stronger in it because you are aware of it, right? So it's kind of like remembering that feeling that you don't like. So if I find myself in a situation that could produce that feeling, I know that but that reminds me that I need to handle this differently or respond differently, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna speak on. Are there any other questions? Because because I appreciate that comment, Bert. Fantastic. Thank you for the thumbs. Just want to make sure we are tracking. Okay, so do I readily know what situations in my relationships need to be handled and which need to be managed, right? So example, if co-parenting, right? Most situations, if you have children with someone, most situations have to be managed, right? Because you share a child. You can't just fly off. I mean, you could, but doesn't really buy you anything. Sometimes you will. I get that too. I promise you, I've been married and divorced. I get it, right? But it's not, the thing is like Bert talked about, how do you feel afterwards? Is that constructive? Is that producing the outcomes, right? So what is the compulsion to be better, right? So again, that's kind of an easy one, right? An easier one to understand in terms of as it relates to managing your conflicts. Recognizing that there's a reason that you and the person are no longer together. Clearly you don't see things similarly, and the compatibility is not there. You don't agree on things. And so it can sometimes be a struggle. And because of the struggles that exist between you, they sometimes get compounded when children are in the equation, because that possessiveness can come in. Like, I want this for them and I want that for them. And agreement is a bridge too far sometimes, right? But we have to manage that conflict as best we can. Now, we can't do it for the person. We're talking about you, the individual, right? You, the individual. An example of something that needs to be handled is if someone is rude to you. You can deal with that real time, right? Because you don't have to see them again. If you got to see them again, it's okay. They'll be less inclined to try you, right? And I'm not saying go get at nobody. That's not what I'm saying. Please do not hear that. What I'm saying is there's a distinct difference between those things that need to be managed, because there's a continuation. I have to continue to talk to you, see you, work with you, and engage with you on some level. That is a clear indication that it's something that may need to be managed. People that you're no longer vested with, like Bert talked about, and there's nothing between you. There's no property. There's no children. There's no stuff. Those tend to get handled. They can, right? Because whatever was there is no longer. Now, you don't have to be nasty, but the reality is there's nothing to continue there unless you choose to or unless you allow it. So those kinds of things can be handled versus being managed. Just want to check in. How we doing? Making sense so far? Because I have some more to share with you. Okay. Question for you. How often do issues get swept under the rug and not addressed until they become unavoidable? Anyone have those challenges before? Have those experiences before? Where you kind of dismiss it. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Or you want to pretend it's not that bad, but it actually is that bad. Right? I mean, listen, too often. Exactly, Kathy. See, because nobody likes conflict. Nobody, I don't know that anybody welcomes it. Like, oh yeah, bring it on. I don't think that's a natural desire. I think it's something that we just simply have to deal with and work through and navigate as best we can when it shows up. Now, again, we can't account for the other person involved, but we can be aware of ourselves and how we respond. Okay? Does being passive aggressive serve to resolve or fuel conflict? Are you fearful? Oh, classic residual conflict avoidance. Got you. Kathy, 10-year marriage ended due to that. Yeah. See, so here's the thing, right? You know, we all have had relationships that have ended maybe because we did not manage, right, conflict well. We didn't respond to conflict well. But what I'm hearing is, and what I'm hopeful for, I should say, is that there's some learning, right? There's some learning that's occurring, right? Where you recognize, man, I could have done that better. I could have handled that better, right? I could have responded better. So I think that is awesome. Tawana, it's better to address it immediately, otherwise things will boil over, just like with parents who allow kids to slide and then they reach the boil. Yep, you got it. So it's the same. So it happens with your children. It happens in relationships where you let stuff go and then you get pissed off. And now it's like, I want to snap. Come on, listen, if we know, back to self-awareness, if you know it doesn't take you long to get to 10, then try your best not to get there because it's not a long ride, right? It's a short trip. So it's almost like, hey, you guys remember The Incredible Hulk? You know, Bruce Banner, you know, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Yeah, that's what some conflicts can turn into. We don't want that. We don't want you being the Incredible Hulktresses and Hulks. We don't want that. You know, dudes, men, ladies, we don't want that. Okay, we want to be better. These questions are rhetorical. I don't expect you to answer these. If you choose, that's fine. But are you fearful to approach the matter directly? Or were you fearful to approach the matter directly? If so, why? Why is it or why was it so uncomfortable to speak your truth? Whatever that truth may have been. Kathy says, we never argued or disagreed much, but when we did, it was awful. Things were said that destroyed us. And therein lies the biggest challenge, Kathy. See, because sometimes we say things to one another that sorry doesn't fix, right? Because that memory is indelibly etched in our minds of what that person said. And so you kind of wonder, like, God, is that how you really feel? Even once it's smoothed over and time has passed, you kind of wonder because we damage each other. We really do. That's why words are so powerful. That's why it's important to be mindful, to be thoughtful, to be self-aware, so that when we respond as best we can, we do so constructively. Back to that design, right? What did I tell you about design? Accountability and agreement. But the reason design is important because you can actually design in that when we differ, when we disagree, when we have a challenge, that we do so respectfully. And you look, and here's the thing, you can suggest it, but it's not an agreement until there's buy-in. It's great to have a conversation because we real good at talking at each other, but we need to learn to speak with each other, talk with each other, allow understanding to occur. The trick is knowing how to express your discontent without. I'll wait for the rest of it, Gwen. I think I know where you're going, but I want to see what you're going to say. And it's okay. You don't want to be hurtful and nasty when you don't like something, because here's why. Sometimes it's an earnest oversight. The person didn't want to be nasty, or that wasn't their goal to offend you, right? Or to upset you or hurt your feelings. Because here's what you have to remember. In your relationships, right? You're there because you want to be. Ideally, they're there because they want to be. So what we know, without hurting or insulting, absolutely, Gwen, absolutely. There's a compassion, there's an empathy that comes with this. And if you legitimately care about your person and they care about you, this is not a hard conversation to have when you're starting out. Here's the challenge. Most people don't. because everybody focuses on the good stuff in the beginning. And when the novelty dissipates, you have no foundation because you established nothing. You made no agreements. You have no boundaries. You have no stand. No one knows. You're just going through it. There's a better way to get better outcomes, if that's what you want. And that's fine until you know that person and the triggers. Absolutely, Gwen. And see, what you're talking about, Gwen, in my opinion, is paying attention, studying your person. Many of you have heard me speak about that before. It's imperative. It's vitally important to study your person, to pay attention to how they respond to things. Hopefully they're paying attention to how you respond to things, because this is not about you just catering to them and being aware of them. These are the types of conversations that you and your persons have. This is why I need dudes on this stream. So ladies, invite your male friends, because men and women need to have these types of conversations. Okay? These skills are necessary to be successful in whatsoever the relationship. This is not just romantic. It's whatsoever the relationship, because it starts with awareness. It's not just for women. It's not just for men. It's for each of us. That's why I'm trying to get dudes on here. My God, that's a whole nother conversation. All right, Kathy, what you got? Sometimes you can have a partner that wants to control the entire relationship and doesn't want to manage conflict. It can be one side. Yeah, and see, here's the thing. When that happens and you have some choices, here's what you got to remember. I understand when you're emotionally vested with someone that it's going to be difficult, and that person is going to be who they are. And when they show you who they are, if they show you disrespect, if they show you that they don't regard you, if they show you that they don't consider you, and that's what they mean, believe them. You have a choice. I understand it's difficult. I'm not suggesting it's easy. What I am telling you is that you have a choice. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Sounds like I'm fussing again. I'm not. Y'all know I love what I do. This is why I do what I do. I'm passionate about it, but I'm not fussing, I promise. But sincerely, I'm not suggesting this is easy. I'm not even saying it's comfortable. And it's certainly not convenient. But what it is necessary. Okay? In order for us to be more successful in our relationships, these skills, foundational skills, believe it or not, are necessary. How are we doing? So, you know that I don't like just to come from my perspective, right? I want to share something with you that I found. It's a model, right? That, and it's called the Thomas Killman model. And it's how conflict is resolved. And we're going to look at that in a second. Okay, we had a couple of responses. Hey, LaFern, how you doing? Welcome back to the lounge, young lady. Happy you were here. Kathy, by the time the truth came out, I was married and it wasn't that easy to walk away. See, listen, Kathy, that's what I'm saying to you. This is not an indictment. Please understand. I understand that we can all miss things. We can all be drawn into things and all of a sudden kind of like, dang, how'd this happen? I promise you I understand. And if you feel blindsided, I understand that. I'm saying that once your awareness of what you're in, regardless of when it was revealed, once your awareness kicks in, is what I'm saying is when you have to kind of recalibrate, right? Is when you have to reset and figure out, how do I move from here, right? And listen, the reality is everything is insalvageable. Some stuff you just got to let go because it's toxic. It ain't good for you. Excuse my good English. It's not good for you, right? And so that's why I said there's no judgment ever, because we all can, any one of us can find ourselves in difficult relationships, in relationships that are struggling. It's like, God, it's always a constant battle. But then you got to, how did this happen? What kinds of things what did I ignore? What was right in front of me? Because listen to me, folks. In every relationship, I don't care the relationship, it is a shared responsibility. You and the other person. Each of us, if we participate in a relationship, we are culpable. Hate to break it to you. Doesn't mean you weren't mistreated. Doesn't mean someone didn't consider you. Doesn't mean that doesn't mean that a person was not discompassionate. It simply means that there's a responsibility. And when you recognize it, now it's to say, how can I be better? What can I do? How can I move? Guess what? It starts with a plan. You've heard me talk about my model. The reason I talk about it is because what I love about my model that I can't talk to you about just yet is that no matter where you are in relationship, if you are someone new to relationship, considering relationship, it works if you work it because it requires execution. If you are in a relationship and your relationship needs to be strengthened, guess what? The model works for you. I promise it does. You know, the beauty of it is that you can take it with you and put it in your pocket, so to speak, and talk yourself down and figure out what is it that you have to do to fix this or to move beyond the space that you're in. Okay? So yeah, I'm very excited about that because it's going to help people have better outcomes in their relationships. Now, like I said, we're going to talk about the Thomas Killman model. I found this, I was looking at an article. I said, man, this is some good stuff. And it deals with conflict, right? So we're going to look at 5 different approaches to resolving conflict. Okay. Excuse me. Again, as outlined in the Thomas Killman model. Disclaimer, people use different methods to resolve conflict. So what you hear is not something that, oh, this is what you should be doing. It's just to kind of give you an idea, help you understand. This is what you may have experienced and may not have been able to put